This is assignment 3.3. Anxiety. Anxiety is a negative emotional experience of stress and can be caused by worry or apprehension. This could be due to the fear of failing in a competitive situation. Anxiety will negatively affect the performance of athletes during competitive situations. There are two main types of anxiety, which are cognitive and somatic. Cognitive anxiety is thoughts and moment-to-moment changes. For example, if a high-ranking scout for a pro team came to watch you play a football match, then there may be an increase in pressure that you put on yourself to perform and impress a scout. This is the mental challenge to keep calm, but still impress. Somatic anxiety is the physical changes that occur when you are stressed. For example, if a player is nervous, then their heart rate will increase due to adrenaline. Blood pressure increases and so does body temperature. Linking anxiety to sport, there is generally a negative view. This is because when a performer is anxious, it usually means that they are less confident when they are playing. This means that they wouldn't carry out tasks with as much efficiency or at a higher intensity as they are afraid that something will go wrong. Trait and state anxiety. Trait anxiety. This is the disposition to perceive certain situations as threatening and the person's natural state of anxiety. This is your anxiety regardless of the situation. For example, there are two basketball players that are required to take the game-winning shot, but one of the players passes it to their teammate as they are too anxious, but the other player takes the shot as they are less anxious. State anxiety. This is where a situation that occurs which can cause anxiety or stress. An example of this could be a sprinter that is anticipating the race the day before it happens. This can be negative as the performer could experience negative thoughts of doubt. This is known as the second dimension of anxiety. This is relating to the stability of anxiety. Different people react differently to different situations. What makes people anxious? The most common reasons that people get anxious could be lack of control, increased pressure, competition level, poor decisions and the consequences, fear of injury, competition importance, and a negative evaluation from coaches or supporters. When may it be experienced? Cognitive anxiety is usually experienced hours before a game. There are thoughts of doubt and worry as well as concern over ability. This will cause the participant to panic. Somatic anxiety will be experienced minutes before the game starts and is usually a physical change such as increased heart rate, blood pressure and body temperature. A SCAT test, which is a sports competition anxiety test, is a valid prediction of natural anxiety levels in different scenarios. It asks 10 questions and determines your natural levels of anxiety. Anxiety management. Examples of anxiety management can be deep breathing, meditation, music, positive mental rehearsal, confidence, focus on a specific target, positive refocus, biofeedback, warm-up, and thought stopping. So that is stopping daydreaming. The three that are stated with that arrow, these are less effective in live performances because there is too little time, but can be done in sports such as tennis or basketball where there are many timeouts and breaks. People that benefit from anxiety management could be people that are naturally very anxious or people that are in a particularly stressful situation, such as a high level of competition like a cup final in a professional division. They will benefit from this because they are able to remain calm and can still perform at a high level. In a high stress situation, as well as this, there are limitations in techniques like biofeedback, which uses computers and instruments to analyze brainwaves, but of course this process is very expensive and cannot be done during exercise. Stress. Stress is a psychological state which is linked with negative feelings and anxiety. The physical response is a release of hormones from the hypothalamus, which is adrenaline. There is then an increase in heart rate and blood flow and could cause performance to decrease. Long term, this can become very unhealthy if you're constantly stressed, because it will affect psychological health as well as physical. The 3 stages of stress. The first stage is the stressor. This is a source of stress and can be internal or external. Internal could be self-critical and external could be something being too loud, negative social interactions, or a major life event. The stress response. This is the psychological change that occurs due to the stress. And the stress experience. This is the way that we perceive the situation to be. What stresses you out? There are 3 different ways that stress can occur. There is personal, so this is stress from significant others, family, friends, health, finance, etc. Occupational, your job, boss, unemployment, or lack of satisfaction within the job. And also the sport environment, so competition level and opponent level. Stress in sport is very common and may depend on different circumstances such as competition level and opponent level, and your own confidence. In sport, many athletes will carry out management techniques so that they can remain calm in stressful situations. Examples of these management techniques are the same as managing anxiety during sport, so deep breathing, positive mental rehearsal, and focusing on completing a specific task. Distress and eustress. Distress. These are extreme levels of anxiety, nervousness, and perceived inability to meet the demands of the situation. Eustress is a good form of stress, challenging yourself to increase skill level and focus your attention. Stage 1. Demand. Stage 2. Perception of demand. Stage 3. Increased arousal level. And Stage 4 is the outcome. Gas. This is the general adaptation syndrome. The alarm reaction is the fight or flight aspect, which is the response that comes from the sympathetic nervous system. It is mobilized to meet a threat or danger. The body may resist the fight or flight as it tries to return physiological levels back to normal. Resources become exhausted due to the continued resistance and when the stresses continue beyond the body's capacity. Sports provides many opportunities for stressful situations, and some of the most common are the level of competition, for example a cup final, as well as frustration with personal performance. The symptoms of the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system are decreased breathing rate, making the muscles relaxed, slow metabolism, increased digestion rate, decreased body temperature, and others. For the sympathetic nervous system, there could be a dry mouth, increased heart rate, dilated pupils, and increased metabolism. However, this can be explained. As the body reacts with the fight or flight instinct, the body will stimulate the sympathetic nervous system, and your body will show signs of this. The common signs could be those stated above. However, if the resistance takes place and your body compensates, the parasympathetic nervous system would try and return many of the physiological factors back to a normal state. Examples of this could be a decrease in heart rate, breathing rate, and the muscles in the body will begin to relax. Arousal. This is a term that describes an increase in excitement or intensity which may be a benefit in certain situations in sport or can cause problems when trying to perform if you are unable to cope with it. Arousal is like motivation, where it has 2 branches which are somatic and psychological. Somatic arousal is relating to the change of state in the body. This could be a change in heart rate, blood pressure, and respiration. Psychological arousal is cognitive, which is talking about the mind, which could be thoughts of moment-to-moment changes and negative thoughts. Arousal can drive a performer to challenge themselves and improve. If the body is under more pressure, then arousal levels will increase. Expert versus novice. Novice performers are usually beginner performers, which means that they are less experienced within the sport and do not have very good understanding of basic skills. Novice performers that are in the cognitive or associative phase of learning shouldn't be subjected to conditions which would evoke high arousal. This is because if there is a higher level of arousal, the performer would be more likely to make a mistake because the performer would go to their dominant response, which wouldn't contain the correct technique. Therefore, novice performers should learn in an environment of low arousal so they can concentrate on the skills being learned. However, expert performers should be exposed to high levels of arousal, as it would result in them going back to the dominant response, which would most likely have the correct technique. This would therefore help their performance, as they have the correct technique in a high pressure situation, which will help them improve.